I protected my assets before my wife's divorce plan backfired. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into today's story, I have a small request. Our channel has been losing traction recently, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us bring you more engaging content. Your support means the world to us, so let's keep this channel growing together. Now, let's get into today's video. The relationship before the shift, I never imagined I would have my own story to share, but life has a way of surprising you. I've been carrying this weight for months, and I need to let it out. Let me be clear. I'm not the type to jump to conclusions or assume the worst. My wife, let's call her M, and I were together for 6 years and married for 4. I truly believe we had something solid. We were that couple, completely in sync, making inside jokes, debating movies for hours, and just enjoying life. She would plan elaborate date nights, and I'd surprise her with her favorite takeout after a long day. Our rhythm felt effortless, as if we had figured out love. That's why what happened next felt like a ton of bricks hitting me all at once. The signs of change around 6 months ago. Things started changing. At first, it was small things I might have ignored if I wasn't paying attention, and began carrying her phone everywhere, even for small tasks like going to the kitchen. Before this, her phone would sit on the table for hours without her caring who touched it. One day, I jokingly asked, "Are you running a secret spy operation now?" She laughed and said, "No, work's just been emailing me a lot." Okay, fair enough. But then, a few days later, she set up a password, a first for her. When I casually asked why, she gave some vague answer about security and hackers. Again, I brushed it off, not wanting to seem paranoid. Then, she started taking calls in private. If her phone rang, she'd step outside or go into another room. When I asked who it was, she'd always say, "Just a friend from work." I also noticed she kept her phone face down whenever we were together. Small things, right? But together, they started forming a picture I didn't like. The moment it clicked one random Wednesday, she told me she was meeting a friend for coffee after work. That wasn't unusual. She did that sometimes. But I happened to be running errands nearby and thought it would be cute to surprise her. When I got there, she wasn't a friend at all. She was pacing outside the cafe, phone pressed to her ear, speaking intensely. I stayed in my car, not wanting to intrude, but I caught bits of her conversation. "It's almost ready and starting fresh soon." My stomach sank. This didn't sound like job talk or friend drama. It sounded like she was planning something big. That night, I casually asked, "How was coffee with your friend?" She gave me an entire fabricated story about her friend complaining about her boyfriend. That's when I knew she was lying. The sudden interest in finances a few days later. She brought up finances out of nowhere. "Have you thought about organizing all our bank details and passwords?" she asked. Just in case of an emergency. We had never discussed this before. It was an odd suggestion, especially given her recent behavior. "What kind of emergencies?" I asked. She shrugged. "Just life stuff. It's smart to have everything in one place." It made sense on the surface, but my gut told me otherwise. Something was off. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling. So the next day, while she was at work, I decided to check our joint account. And that's when I saw it. She had been making small withdrawals over the last month. Nothing huge, but amounts that didn't align with our usual spending habits. They weren't for bills or groceries. Where was the money going? Protecting my assets, I contacted an old friend who's a lawyer. "Look, I'm not saying anything's definitely happening," he said, "but you're not crazy for wanting to protect yourself. If you suspect something, now's the time to secure your assets. Better safe than sorry." That hit me hard. Taking action felt like admitting defeat, like accepting that my marriage was falling apart. But I had to act. So, over the next few days, I transferred all my major assets, including my savings in the house, into my mother's name. I left just enough in our joint account to keep up appearances. She didn't notice. The bombshell drops 2 weeks later. She sat me down, turned off the TV, and said, "We need to talk." My stomach dropped. I think we should get a divorce. Her tone was calm, rehearsed. She mentioned needing space, wanted to find herself. Then she said something that really hit me. You know, I've made a lot of sacrifices for you. I deserve more. That's when I knew this wasn't just about her wanting out. Someone had convinced her that she was owed something. A friend had been guiding her. The divorce papers arrived Monday morning. The papers came, and they weren't just for a clean split. She wanted half of everything. Half the house, my savings, even spousal support. It was a clear money grab, but she had no idea what I had done. The mediation shock when we met for mediation, her lawyer came in confident. He listed her demands like they were a done deal. Then, my lawyer handed over our paperwork. Before we proceed, he said, "You should review these." Her lawyer's face dropped as he flipped through the pages. These documents show that all major assets were transferred into an irrevocable trust under my client's mother's name before your client filed for divorce. There is nothing to claim. Silence. Em snatched the papers, her face turning red. "You planned this," she snapped. "You knew." I said nothing. The aftermath after that, things spiraled for her. She tried calling, texting, one moment apologizing, the next accusing me of being heartless. Then she started telling mutual friends that the divorce was just a test or a prank. But then a friend of mine sent me text messages between her and Jake, the man she'd been seeing. "Once the settlement's done, we'll have everything we need. I just need him to agree to the terms." Jake replied, "Don't back down. Make him feel guilty if you have to. He owes you." When the text spread among our mutual friends, everyone saw her for who she was. Even her own family distanced themselves. Conclusion, she walked away with nothing. No house,